Chris, great to have you with me today on today's Spotlight. It's Chris Woods from CyberQ Group. Chris, introduce us to your business, please.
Hi, Andy. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me today. Very much appreciated. Yeah, and it's great to be here, even though it's 28 degrees out there today, isn't it? The weather's absolutely amazing. Yeah, quick on about CyberQ Group. So CyberQ Group is a global cybersecurity firm working with a lot of customers in regards to protecting data and protecting reputation, really. Quick intro onto the name. The reason we're called CyberQ Group. So cyber is what we do. We only do cybersecurity. We're not an IT company. We're just about protecting data and protecting reputation. Q, because I'm a massive James Bond fan, and I did spend a little bit of time at GCHQ as well. So that's hence the words Q, and then Group because we're globally based. So we're based out in Manila, based out in Cincinnati, and also based out in Birmingham as well. So that's a little bit of an intro into CyberQ Group.
Very cool. Tell us a little bit more about what you do in the business. I know you started to allude to it, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in regards to what we do as a business, I'm the founder. So CyberQ Group's been going about 5 years. And the best way to look at CyberQ Group is almost kind of like a triangle. So at the top of the triangle, we do what we call consultancy services. So consultancy services tend to be kind of compliance. So people going for 27001, people want a NIST standard, Sensitive Internet Security standard, getting a little bit techie, but it's all about compliance. The second thing we do at the top, again, top of the consultancy, things like penetration testing. So how do organizations know if they're secure? How do organizations know that they can't be hacked? A good old-fashioned penetration test, really, just to understand that they're secure, to get a report, and also to make sure that they take up the follow-up actions to make sure they can be as secure as they possibly can be. The kind of second part is around our kind of services that we do. So the second part of the triangle is around things like Security Operations Center. So that involves 24/7 monitoring, a lot of vulnerability management, threat intelligence, and again, just helping organizations on a day-to-day basis monitor their activity and making sure that they're strong and as secure as they possibly can be. Also, we do incident response in that second part of the triangle, which is if the worst does happen, and they do get hacked, how do they handle that? And it's not necessarily from a technical perspective. It's more around what do I tell my customers? What do I tell my supply chain? How do I react to the press, to the public relations? And again, how do I need legal people to be involved in this, especially with some of the fines and especially with some of the customers? So the kind of instant response is quite a few areas that one needs to be aware of in case of a breach. And finally, the third part of the organization is what we call our innovation arm. So it's more around three things. So we do something called Cyber DD. So if people are buying companies, they can, in essence, make sure that they're up to scratch from a security perspective. So it's a penetration test. We also do a lot of threat intelligence, so threat intelligence on the organization to make sure that they haven't been breached or there's some information that may be out there already. And then finally, we do something called what we spoke about earlier, and the digital human reconnaissance. So that's the ability with the permission of the person to actually go on the dark web, the deep web, and the open web to look for information about them as an individual, to see what's out there, basically. And that just gives us a really good idea about their surface of attack, which potentially could be used against them. So just putting that back up again, it's the triangle. So it's the consultancy at the top, the services, and finally the innovation. One thing I didn't mention on the innovation is around, we do something called smart building cyber assurance. And what we're finding now, especially in our penetration testing, is that people are hacking kettles, people are hacking CCTVs, people are hacking what they call IoT, Internet of Things, to get an access into the environment. And there's one particular example I can talk about is that there was an iKettle that was released about 3 years ago. The iKettle had a weakness or had a vulnerability on it. And our own penetration testers were able to get access to the kettle, which was inside the network, inside the home. And once we got access to the iKettle, we can turn up the temperature up and down. We get an alert when the kettle's being boiled. But the key thing for us is it gave us access into the environment, which then in turn we could access a TV, which then in turn we could record a board meeting. So it was an Android TV that basically was unsecure, but because we're inside the network, we can get access. And again, that's where we're seeing the surface of attack getting more and more, Andy, where it's not the traditional ways, but the traditional ways work. It's more of the new technology that enters into an office that people aren't aware of, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's hopefully kind of a bit of an overview on CyberQ Group and some of the services we offer.
Very cool. So what would you say makes you stand out from your competition, Chris?
I think there's a few things. I think one, CyberQ Group is a partnership model. So it's not just for Christmas, or as we say, a pen test. A pen test is not just for Christmas. So it's more of a partnership feel. So we work with our customers to understand their risks and also the changing landscape, because companies, well, they grow, they buy other companies, other managers, senior managers come in. And it's not the technology approach. I think, as we talked about, just throwing more and more technology at a problem doesn't necessarily work. It's about technology, people, and process. And the one thing that CyberQ Group do is bring all that to bear. And again, we're kind of technology agnostic, so we're not really bothered about the technology you have in your environment. It's more around that kind of holistic approach, and things like the smart buildings, things like the penetration test, things like the digital human reconnaissance, the security operations center. It's having that combined approach that some of the organizations just aren't doing today. So I think that's probably the first one. And the second one, I'd say, just because we've won quite a few awards around this, is basically the innovation. So there's some of the stuff that we're doing around the digital human reconnaissance, the smart buildings, and the way we approach cybersecurity in the partner model has won a lot of accolades and a lot of awards, and we're quite proud of that. And they actually come from our customers, which again is even better. So again, I think that's probably the second reason that a lot of customers come back to us and stay with us.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. So quite a ride to get to here. What about the business? Where's it going? What are your aspirations for the next 5 years, Chris?
So the aspirations is just to grow the business globally, and more importantly, to help more clients stay secure. That's our message, and that's what we want to do. I think it's very difficult in our world because cybersecurity is about being agile. It's about showing innovation because the landscape changes so quickly. And we only just need to look at the war and look at what's happening in UK and Russia and look at how people are using cyber attacks to gain a competitive advantage. You look at other companies getting hacked, again, to get after their IP. And you look at what's happening within business today, really. So again, the kind of 5-year plan is to grow globally. We're fortunate to have some large customers in the UK, some large customers in the US, and again, some big customers and large customers out in the in APAC as well. Recently started to close deals in the Middle East as well. So out in Qatar, which is fantastic. And again, it's just to grow the business year after year and keep providing our clients the kind of protection and the resilience that they need.
Right, cool. So what would you say has been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner, Chris?
So there's probably a few. Probably I haven't.
I'm sure.
We haven't got a few. I think for me personally, I think it's, as we said, I've kind of worked for some large corporates. I've only had 3 jobs in my life, really, at the grand old age. I'm now in my mid to late 40s. So I think starting a business was part of my midlife crisis, as I called it. So CyberQ Group definitely is a midlife crisis for me. And I think when you've worked at billion-dollar businesses, which I kind of had for 20 years of my life, and then going into CyberQ Group, which unfortunately isn't a billion-dollar business at the moment, I think there's a lot of challenges about the work you have to do, the areas of weakness, and bringing the right people in. And I think one of the learning curves for me is that I probably thought I could do it all. So I probably think I'm a clever lad. I can pick up and learn. And I realized that's not the case. I think you really saw your strengths, and basically for your weaknesses, you bring in the right people at the right time, and also the right mindset. I mean, anything in life is really hard. It can be challenging, but it's your mindset to that challenge which changes everything. And I think for me, coming into a business, the 2 big areas to learn, and thinking I could do everything, realizing I couldn't. And secondly, in mindset, which again is something that's been pretty fundamental when we look at challenges and we look at how we can improve. Having that good mindset, a positive mindset, has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
No problem.
So you've alluded to some challenges. What's been the biggest one?
The biggest challenge was growing and getting the right people. if I'm honest. I think we're in an area that's very, very competitive in regards to staff and people. There's a skill crisis. You know, if you go to Google and talk about cyber and skill crisis,
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of opportunities out there in cybersecurity, and cybersecurity is a massive field. People don't really understand that. They just think, oh, it's just a techie guy. It's not. It's compliance, it's regulation, it's technical, and it's threat intelligence. And there's all these different jobs that require different skills. And for me, it was getting the right people, and not only just getting the right people that wanted to grow a business. And I think it's it's fine getting the right person who's got the skills, but again, going back to mindset and cultural fit,
Yep.
we're a lot different to $1 billion business, and thank God for that, actually, because it makes us more agile around that. But it's literally getting them type of people that want to go into a business like ours and be part of that journey of growing, because there's not that many opportunities. But again, that has been one of our biggest challenges. And to be honest and transparent, I've made mistakes. We've brought people in, we think they're going to do a good job. On paper, they look like they're going to do a job, and culture not good fit. Not really want to build a business, just want to stay in their little box because that's what they've done for the last X years. And again, that's probably been my biggest challenge, is getting the right people on the bus. And then quite quickly, when we haven't got the right people, get them off the bus, really. So again, that's been my biggest challenge, I think, building a business.
Yeah, you wouldn't be alone in that, I don't think.
I don't think so. Well, yeah, I mean, people look so good, and people, at face value, but it's until you work with them, you don't know, and it's not necessarily their fault either.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like they just expect it to be a certain way. You expect it to be a certain way, and for whatever reason, that doesn't happen. But I mean, I've been lucky though. That has been I've been lucky is that everyone that we've kind of just said it's not working. It's not like one way. There's a meeting of the minds that said, no, actually, I think so. That's probably been a benefit as well, that we've had people that said, yeah, I want to go back to that job, basically.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's probably one of my biggest challenges. Well, that is the biggest challenge that we've had.
good stuff. If you were sitting having a conversation with the 18-year-old you, with the knowledge you have now, what would you say to yourself?
Great question. Well, my background, I think, is quite interesting. I say that quite interesting ways to me. But I was from. I mean, my background is again was kind of born and bred in Birmingham. I've been in some great places. Adam Rock, if people know Birmingham, and then went to Smethwick. My mum and dad lived in a pub, so I grew up in a pub. So my mum and dad were kind of business owners. So I remember really good at pool. And if you want to play me at pool, we should have a game. That was because played pool every day of my life for 12 years. And again, I was kind of fortunate that I probably didn't go the traditional route. So probably, GCSEs and so forth. I ended up going to university. But I think what I tell my 18-year-old self is everything's okay. Calm down. I was always entrepreneurial. Even when I was at school, kind of fixing things and doing things. I was always that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. And I think I have to get that from my mum and dad, because owning a pub that was open 24/7, you are talking about 40 years ago as well, just to take you back. So pubs are very different 40 years ago to the way they are. The way they are today, because pubs are the social, where people met and went. But yeah, going back to the point, I think 18-year-old self, I'd just say everything's all right. Calm down. There is no rush. And again, the kind of life goals change as you get older. You get married, you have children. The kind of bigger houses, bigger cars may be important when you're young, but obviously when you get older, it's more about job satisfaction, legacy, and doing the right thing.
Yeah, great stuff. So what's the one piece of advice that you give to other business owners, Chris?
Be secure, don't get hacked, and protect your data. Have to say that. Don't get hacked. Be secure, protect your data. Yeah. Have to give that piece of advice. I think other business owners, on my journey, and I'm 5 years into this now, so I wouldn't, am I still a baby entrepreneur? I don't know, maybe I'm a teenager entrepreneur. So I daren't give advice from a position of strength, but I think people that want to enter businesses, I think being an entrepreneur, I think there should be a lot more courses and so forth, just to kind of help them. I know the government's trying to do something on that. And again, I would just say to other entrepreneurs, going back to my challenge, bringing the right people at the right time. And what we did that I thought was quite interesting, I don't know if other businesses do that, but we brought in NEDs, so non-executive directors, and especially when the business is just kicking off and you may not be able to afford I don't know, six-figure salary or whatever. You can bring NEDs in who've got the experience, who potentially have done this before, who can actually really help your business. And then there's obviously coaching and so forth as well that you can bring people in to really help your business as well.
Yeah.
Going back to my challenge, that would be my recommendation. Don't think you can do it all. Bring in advice if you're unsure, and also check that because a lot of people are bringing advice in, but check that they've done what they've said they've done, and check the credentials, because everybody's got an opinion. I say this to my two daughters, everybody's got an opinion, but it's opinions that matter. You can ask me an opinion of brain surgery, and I'm sure, Andy, I could give you an answer. And you could ask the doctor about brain surgery, who actually does this day and day, and he could probably give you an opinion. It's down to you, Andy, which opinion you take.
Absolutely.
And that's, to put that in a business context, I think sometimes you see a lot of people that would give advice and guidance that is meant well. I don't think for a second malicious. It's meant well, but have they walked the walk? And I think that's a good way. So my piece of advice would look at non-executive directors, look at people that have been there or doing the things that you want to do, and see if there's a way of bringing them in. And most people want to help. The one thing I would say, I very rarely is people not being able to help. They probably haven't helped because they've been too busy, life things have gone away, or life got in the way. So, but most people have said, because they want to help. We're programmed like that, aren't we, to help each other?
Very much.
That's what we do.
Great. So don't get hacked, which leads us on to our very last question. Obviously, all of your contact details will be down below the video. What are the best next steps to find out more or get in touch, Chris?
Brilliant. Yeah. So if people want to get in contact with CyberQ Group, again, don't get hacked, protect your data. Again, if they reach out at the team at cyberqgroup.com. So we have just the team at cyberqgroup.com. If they reach out there, we can have a conversation. If they think they've got any risks to their business, if they're going through something at the moment, which, we know a lot of businesses are, CyberQ Group's here and happy to help. And again, we're happy to impart our knowledge, and again, not from a fee basis. We can have a consultation, usually free, and again, organizations get some really good advice out of that, just to make sure that they're secure and making sure their business is protected, and more importantly, make sure their data is protected as well.
Brilliant. Okay, Chris, thanks for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you, Andy.
Brilliant to meet you, and
brilliant to meet you.
Good luck with the business going forward.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers.